truest is my memory and my memory alone. Now, whether my memory is the truth, I don't know, because I have been told conflicting things.
What's up, everyone? Carolina Girl here. Welcome back. I hope everyone had a great weekend and a happy Easter. It's Monday, April 6th, 2026. Can y'all believe we're already in the month of April? I can't believe how fast time has gone by already. It seems like we're just celebrating the new year, and I received the FOIA videos from Greene County, Missouri regarding Gypsy and Nick. Speaking of FOIA videos, there was one video that I couldn't wait to get my hands on. I mentioned it in multiple videos because it was mentioned in Nick's appeal paperwork. It was my opinion that was the biggest piece of evidence in this case to prove Dee Dee didn't have Munchausen's by proxy. I had been wanting to make a video on this for a while, but it kept getting pushed to the back. Here we are 4 months later, but I guess they could say better late than never, right? I would like to remind everyone of the story that Gypsy put out to the media, but I want to look at something first. I went back through the documentaries that are out to get clips of Rod and Gypsy on why Gypsy was in the wheelchair. And the documentaries were Mommy Dead and Dearest, Gypsy's Revenge, Gypsy's Dr. Phil interview, and then Prison Confessions, Gypsy's Prison Confessions. And Mommy Dead and Dearest, now, everyone that did an interview for Mommy Dead and Dearest, they did that, and they all did their interviews by July 5th, 2016. And the reason why I know that is because Gypsy specified, I can't remember where it was, I think it was in one of her interviews, that everybody in Mommy Dead and Dearest did their interviews before she did. And she didn't give her interview until after she took her plea deal. And she took her plea deal July 2016. And so this interview that Rod did was sometime before July 5th, 2016. And I want to play this clip for you.
Right from birth, 3 months old, Dee Dee was telling me that she had sleep apnea, and she needed a breathing machine or breathing monitor machine, which, I mean, till this day, I don't know if that was real or not. It escalated from then. Problems with her eyes, hearing, her digestive system. After that, Gypsy couldn't walk anymore. She had a muscular disorder. Dee Dee told me she would need a wheelchair. And I asked her, I said, man, she's got a lot of issues. What's going on, And they had done some tests and found out she had a chromosome disorder that was causing all of her functions from developing, her digestive system and her muscular system.
Now, that is what Dee Dee told Rod that was going on with Gypsy. Does anyone know what's missing here in that story, though? I'm not going to tell you right now. So let's go on to the next video. This next video is going to be a clip of Rod interviewing with Dr. Phil. Now, that one that we just watched was from Mommy Dead and Dearest. And so this next one's going to be from where he's interviewing with Dr. Phil. Now, this interview would have been given sometime toward the end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017, because this aired as a two-part show sometime in November 2017. And so, like I said, they would have interviewed for this sometime at either the end of 2016 or the beginning of 2017.
I questioned Dee Dee about it, and I'm like, she can walk or not? She's going to be in a wheelchair all her life? And, the answer I got from Dee Dee was, she had a disease she was diagnosed with, and it was going to progressively get worse, and eventually she was going to be bound to the wheelchair at all time.
So he hasn't changed the story as to why he understood Gypsy being in the wheelchair. But does anyone know what's missing from this story? I'll give you a clue. It's the same thing that's missing from his first interview. Next, we're going to move on to Gypsy's interview with Dr. Phil on why she's in the wheelchair.
You got put in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And you were 7 years old, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why did she tell you you were going in the wheelchair?
I did get into a motorcycle accident with my grandfather, and it skinned my knee. And she took me to the hospital and then told me that the doctor gave her a wheelchair, and I have to be in a wheelchair now.
Forever.
Forever.
So I believe this is the first time we actually hear about this motorcycle story. And she states she's about 7 years old here. So remember that here, folks. She states she's 7 years old when she gets in this motorcycle accident with her grandpa. And was, bound to the wheelchair. And it's interesting because when she interviewed for Mommy Dead and Dearest, we never heard about the motorcycle accident. That accident was not brought up, and Rod never brought it up. And that's what's missing from his interview, or his interviews, is the motorcycle accident. He never mentioned the motorcycle accident as being the cause of why she was in the wheelchair. Every time he said anything about the wheelchair, it had to do with Dee Dee telling him it was a medical issue, and it was not going to get better. It was only going to get worse. And so this next clip is of Rod. He's interviewing with Gypsy's Revenge on Gypsy being in the wheelchair.
When Gypsy was around 7, that was the first time I saw her in a wheelchair. They came over for a visit her. And I would ask her, what's wrong with her legs? Is it really that bad? What's the diagnosis? Dee Dee told me that she's got muscular dystrophy, that her legs muscles are going to eventually quit working. That is terrifying to hear that about your child. After that first time I saw her in a wheelchair, I never seen her walk again. But through all the illnesses, she's always been a trooper.
Mm-hmm. Again, he didn't say anything about Gypsy being in a motorcycle accident. It was his understanding she had medical issues that were not going to get better, only worse. So this is a clip of Gypsy giving an interview for her Prison Confessions documentary on why she was in a wheelchair. And she started filming for the show on the eve of her parole board hearing. That would have been back in 2021. And there were 6 episodes of Prison Confessions that were filmed over an 18-month period. So it was 23. And this was actually in the first episode. So you're looking at about somewhere in 2021 is when this was, it was filmed in 2021, but it wasn't aired until January 2024, I believe.
I would spend a lot of time with my grandpa. And I remember getting into a motorcycle accident. The way there exactly was, my knee and my leg got scraped. My leg was. Then one day, my mother walked to the room and had a wheelchair with her. And very bluntly told me to use the wheelchair.
So now here she stated she was 5 years old when she got into that motorcycle accident with her grandfather. But for the most part, her story was the same as, what she said in the Dr. Phil interview. But again, she did state that she was 5 years old there. And so this next thing is going to be an excerpt from her book. It was chapter 3, page 27, on why she was in the wheelchair. It says, I was confined to a wheelchair after I was in a motorcycle accident when I was 8 years old. Daddy Claude had a Harley, and I went riding one day on the back. Reacting to a car that had cut us off, Daddy Claude swerved out of the way and sideswiped us off the road. I was bleeding when we returned to Mama. After she found out what had happened, she rushed me to the hospital, where I was cleared of anything other than road rash. I went home with an ace bandage, and she nursed me as if I had had an amputation. She bought me a walker, sent me for physical therapy, and after a few months came home with a wheelchair, which I was relegated to permanently. I learned recently that Mama's family members got on Mama for putting me in the wheelchair, but that only made her run away with me. Now see, here she states she was 8 years old when she got into the motorcycle accident with her grandfather. Her story also changes a little here from her prison confessions interview. And before I get into the video that Gypsy sent to Nick 1 year before the murder, I wanted to point out Rod's interviews. Not one time did he mention the motorcycle accident. He did 3 interviews, and in all 3 interviews, he was under the impression Gypsy was in the wheelchair due to medical issues. Now, I'm not saying the motorcycle accident didn't happen, but I feel like if it had been a factor, Rod would have said something about it. You know, like basically what Gypsy said. You know, got into a motorcycle accident with Grandma. Mom made a big deal about it, and soon after, you know, I ended up in a wheelchair. That wasn't Rod's story. 3 different interviews at 3 different times, he stated he thought, you know, because of what Dee Dee told him, it had to do with medical issues. One time, you know, she flat out told him she had muscular dystrophy. Nothing to do with a motorcycle accident. And so, you know, I feel like that's somewhat of a discrepancy. So this is the video Gypsy made for Nick, dated May 26, 2014, and she sent it to Nick 1 year before the murder.
Hi, love. I wanted to show you something special, something that I haven't showed you before, because I was scared to, and I don't know how to, so this is what I'm going to show you. I hope you like my dress, but I don't think it's the dress that you're probably excited about right now. Finally nice to show you after all this time. I'm sorry I had to keep it a secret from you for so long, but it's not just you that I'm keeping it a secret from. It's sort of like everybody who knows me. I don't even know how I got started. When I was 6 years old, I went into the hospital for like 6 months, and the doctors told me that I had a seizure in surgery, and I wouldn't be able to walk, that I was paralyzed permanently. And that part, like the part that I had a seizure, was true. In surgery, I had the seizure and I was paralyzed, but what they didn't know is that it was temporary paralysis and not permanent. And by the time I started to get my feeling back in my legs, and I hadn't tried to walk then, but I was too young and I just kept to myself. And throughout the years, I tried to tell my mom a few times, and I guess I was just afraid of her not loving me as much as she does if I couldn't walk. You know, I didn't want to make her sad or lose any love from her. I guess that's the reason why I kept it a secret from her. And so I just kept it to myself for a long time until 2011, whenever I sort of started rebelling as a teenager and ran away from home. Literally ran away from home, stumbled. Before I ran away, I started trying to walk as much as I could. And I just got enough strength to be able to leave home. Unfortunately, it was to the wrong person. And so Mom's kind of in denial in a way. I don't really know, because I guess it would be too hard to explain to all our friends and everything. And one thing I never want to feel is like a liar. And believe me, I would like for people to know the truth, but being as it is, I would lose a lot of friends, I think. And I just don't want anybody to hate me. And they would. And so you're the only person that knows besides me and that one other guy, which he's not in my life anymore, so, and we're not even friends anymore, so he doesn't count. So right now you're the only person that knows. And it feels great. It feels really, really nice to just have somebody that accepts me, and you accepted me even when you thought that I was in a wheelchair and living my life in a wheelchair. I have to tell everybody that I am. And anyway, it's difficult, but it's freeing and wonderful just to you can accept me, and that's really all I care about, is what you see and how you see me and how you feel about me. So I apologize so much for taking so long to tell you. I didn't know how to, so I'm so sorry. And I promise you I have no other secrets. I think I've told you everything about myself. And that's the truth, because you know everything about me. You know me physically, emotionally, every which way. So now we can just sort of start fresh on a new page with absolutely no secrets between us. I know you've always been completely honest with me, which I very much appreciate that. It just took me took me some time to get out a few secrets that were very big skeletons in my closet. So thank you so much for always loving me and adoring me and worshiping me. And I just want you to know that I love and adore and worship you too, my dearest King Charming.
And so before I address the video, I want to address Gypsy's response to the video. So it says, so to understand this, people need to understand trauma bond. So after I ran away from home with Dan and my mom brought me back home, and keep in mind, I walked to the car with her in front of these people. She chained me to the bed. After 2 weeks, I told her I would get back in the wheelchair because I wanted her to love me again. So I told her what she wanted to hear, which was, I can't walk. But we both knew I could, but she was not wanting me to, so I said what she wanted to hear, and we lived in denial after that. So that was in 2011 that I told my mom this, and that is what I'm explaining to Nick. And so this is a lie, obviously. Dee Dee learned, of course, Gypsy could walk when Gypsy walked out to the car, but the chaining to the bed part had to do with her running away, supposedly, nothing to do with her walking. You know, Dee Dee got mad and chained Gypsy to the bed, slept with a knife by her bedside, put bells on the doors, and I proved all that to be a lie. As far as the knife by the bedside, there was no knife on Dee Dee's bedside table, and there were no bells on the doors, according to the crime scene photos. And so I'm going to get to that, though. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. But it had nothing to do with Gypsy walking. So this is a clip from Gypsy's Revenge, and this really has nothing to do with the wheelchair per se, but it kind of does, because it has to do with what Gypsy just put here as far as her response to the video, the FOIA video. And so she's basically acknowledging the video, but she's trying to tell us that we didn't hear what we just heard, that this is what she meant. And this story is what she tells people or tells the public, but it has to do with, like I said, her running away.
I trusted him a little bit, enough to run away from home. He didn't have a place of his own, so he was staying with a friend. Those friends knew my mom. They called my mom, and my mom came to get me. She told him that I was 15, so he freaked out because he was 36 at the time. My mother brought me back with her, smashed my computer. She chained me to a bed, tinted the windows so nobody could see what was going on inside the house, and put bells on the doors. So if I tried to sneak out again, she could hear.
So everything Dee Dee did to include chaining Gypsy to the bed had to do with Gypsy running away again. And I must note that Gypsy claims Dee Dee put bells on the doors to make sure Gypsy didn't run away, but there were no bells on the doors in the crime scene photos. And I covered that in my Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire video a while back that I did. Regarding the video that Gypsy sent to Nick, I feel like her telling him that she was the cause of her being in the wheelchair is true. This was a private video that she sent to her boyfriend 1 year before the murder. She had no clue anyone would ever see this video. And I feel like the story surrounding her admittance is flaky, but the one little tidbit of information she gave us in that video, as far as her not telling her mom she could walk, I believe that's truthful. Rod's interviews, he never mentioned the motorcycle accident that Gypsy claimed in her interviews. And I find it interesting that in Mommy Dead and Dearest, the motorcycle accident was never mentioned, and it was never mentioned in Gypsy's Revenge either. Now, Gypsy's Revenge was kind of focused more on like Dee Dee's family. They were interviewed and, some friends, but they never mentioned it either. And so you would think that if it had been a factor in Gypsy being relegated to the wheelchair, that would have been mentioned. Or I don't know. I feel like that would, nobody mentions this motorcycle accident but Gypsy. And so why didn't Gypsy tell Nick the motorcycle story? I mean, that's the story we've heard for the last 10 years. So why didn't she tell that story to Nick? I believe it has to do with her trying to be honest regarding the fact that she was the one that kept it from Dee Dee she could walk, but she still tried to make herself look like the victim by saying she was afraid Dee Dee would stop loving her. Gypsy has 3 different ages of when that motorcycle accident occurred and when she ended up in the wheelchair. The ages range from 5, 7, and 8. And Rod was under the impression that it was strictly medical and that her condition would not improve. So we all know Gypsy's a liar, and I pointed out that the video that I made a few months back titled Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire, Gypsy has lied about little things such as birthday parties and cakes. She's lied about playing with Barbie dolls. You don't think she'd lie about this or why she killed her mom? I mean, we may never know the true story as to what put Gypsy into the wheelchair initially. But I wholeheartedly believe she was the one that kept it from her mom that she could walk. I believe she realized the attention she received from being in the wheelchair and ate it up until she no longer wanted her mother's attention, but wanted the attention from the men, that she was starting to pay attention to. these older men that she was around. You guys let me know what you think about this in the comments. I always look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you because without you, I wouldn't have a channel. If you happen to scroll upon the video and you're not subscribed to my channel but like the content, please consider tickling the subscribe button. It's a free way and the only way to support my channel. Now, I hope you all have a great week ahead, and I'm currently working on a few videos behind the scenes, so please stay tuned for more videos to drop in the near future. And with that being said, I hope you all have a nice evening, and I am out of here.
Hey, Buddy, this is Gypsy Rose reporting from Aurora, Missouri. I am about to dive off